Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pursuit of Relentless podcast. You've got your host here, Alaina. And today I'm excited to dig into the mind in a big way. I've got Sherianna Boyle, sorry. I almost messed that up, but it's an honor to be here and have you on the show. I'm excited to hear all about your new book and what you have been specializing in for so long. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, maybe you can just take a few minutes and introduce yourself, what you do, how you got into entrepreneurship and being an author and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. So I call myself an emotional detox coach because I've written several books on emotional detoxing. And I've been, my latest book is actually called Energy in Action. That's the one that we're kind of talking a little bit about today. But this one is actually my 10th book.
Wow.
And so I've been writing since about 2012. And previous to writing, I was a school psychologist in the school system.
Wow.
And I took a leave of absence and to have my daughter, which I ended up having another daughter. So I ended up saying, okay, I guess I'm not going to go back right at this point. And during that leave, I started writing, and then I self-published my first book. And it was interesting because I was talking to someone at I had one of my daughters in preschool. So now we're a little bit ahead now. And I must have been telling one of the moms there, and somebody there overheard me, and they worked in publishing. And they said, they must have looked at the book I published, now that I think about it. And they said, will you write a book for us? I was like, okay, yeah, I will. And they said, we really want someone to write a book on parenting for children with anxiety, but we know you have a lot of mindfulness in your background. Mm-hmm. So I said, sure. So I wrote a book for them, and then that turned into I think I wrote 7 books for them.
Wow.
And then eventually I branched off and started writing for other publishing companies. And now today I work as an emotional detox coach. So I have a private practice where I teach basically everything that I write about. And I do energy healings and lots of mindful kind of stuff, ways to handle mental health. And I'm able to work from home, which is super nice because now I have 3 daughters. And it's just been a really nice way for me to be an entrepreneur, but also still be there for my family. Mm-hmm. And so it's been really good for me.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people's dreams as females of childbearing age. Obviously, that's like a big push for a lot of people is like, well, I want to be a mom, but I also want to have my career. And even myself, I'm like, okay, I love that I've had 7 years to build my business. And then when I have a baby, it's like, okay, I can stay home and not have to stress out as much because I've built my agency and I'm able to, sell my books online, and I can do Zoom infos, meetings with people when I need to. And I don't necessarily have to be 100% in a 9-to-5 position anymore. Right. Whereas when I was running my office before, it was like I had to be in the office all the time and I could only take local clients and that kind of stuff. And now the business has changed. I'm in the financial industry. So the business has changed so much since the beginning of 2020. That it's opened things up so much. And I just self-published my first book last November. And it was such a cool experience to just go through and learn about the world of being an author and how much impact you can create through your books and just sharing your knowledge. And I think that that's a big thing that people want to do, but don't necessarily know how to do. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's beautiful. And I'm glad that you did that.
Yeah, I'm happy. What's the title of your book?
Pursuit of Relentless, a guidebook for your best life.
Oh, very nice.
So it's based on the podcast. It's just teaching people all of the stuff that it took me to get successful. Not that I'm like a multimillionaire yet, but I'm working towards that. And I'm like, okay, well, how can I share my knowledge and my experience it's not so much like a financial book, for instance, but it's like, here's some good money mindsets. Here's some good things that you can practice. So one of the exercises that I love is doing your best self and your worst self, and actually drawing it out and going, okay, when I'm at my worst, when I'm at my lowest, how do I feel? How do I look? How do I act? Right. So it'd be like lazy, ungrateful, undisciplined. I'd just be like listing these things about myself that I don't like. And then my best self is like, worthy and loved and, respected, and just like looking at that. And then you look at this version of yourself, and over the years, then you can do one every year and go, okay, well, I'm no longer that worst version of myself has changed, right? Because I've improved as a human. So then I can go back and redo that exercise for myself and go, okay, what does my next best self look like, right? What else can I work on? How do I want to feel and like show up for people so that I'm going towards that version of myself versus the version of myself that I'm not really that proud of, right? But we've all got those days when it's just like, oh, it's just a bad day. And it's like, well, it's a bad day if you let it be a bad day, right? Or you can have a bad moment instead of letting that emotion last the full day. But I think that's something that we work ourselves up to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in emotional detox, my book series that I created there, I have emotional detox for anxiety. I created a system that it's built upon, and some of it is a mindset, kind of what you're talking about, when the benefits of having of shifting your mindset, having a certain mindset. And for me, it was, well, one of the mindsets is all your emotions are good so long as you process them. So I'll say that again, all your emotions are good, even the guilt, the shame, the fear, as long as you process them. And so when I talk about whether it's energy in action, which is all about this is the power of emotions and intuition, because we know that a lot of people are using intuition now in their business and learning how to use that as a compass. But what I find with intuition is if you're not processing your emotions, it can interfere with that gut feeling. And a lot of people are like, yeah, I felt like that was my gut feeling yesterday. And then I woke up today and I realized, wow, that was a really bad idea. Or I started to freak out or panic. And so that's why I wrote Energy in Action after writing all the emotional detox books, because it's really about, okay, the balance between the two, that if you're not taking time to take care of your emotions, to process them, then it can really kind of clog that intuitive. And I think a lot of moms, we go off that intuition anyway. And dads as well. My husband's very intuitive. It helps him very much in business. I think he and I both, a lot of our business is off gut, right? That gut feeling. But again, you have to keep cleansing and clearing any kind of toxicity that interferes with those emotions that flow, because emotions give you strength. They give you clarity. They give you stamina. They give you resiliency. They give you grounding, help you to remember what's important, because let's face it, those of us in business can get on that treadmill and never get off. And then all of a sudden maybe we're thriving in this area, but then other areas we find not so great. And that imbalance can kind of spoil, all the success, you get to that point. So for me, I've always found the success comes from being able to really process, take time. And I developed a system, it's called Cleanse. And I teach people how to process their emotions mindfully without getting into the stories and narratives that bog us down. But also not ignoring, because there's a balance between shift your mindset, but also make sure you are feeling what you need to feel along the way. You don't want to get so skewed and, focus on this, keep your eyes on the ball here, because what I've found is sometimes you can pay the price for that later, meaning It can show up in relationships. For me, it was really tough on my marriage. I've always been pretty successful business wise. My challenge has been really kind of toning it down, if anything, because making sure that my core relationships, my marriage, my relationship with myself, my relationship with my children, that's the most important thing. That's where my relationship with the earth, with nature, all of that is so important. And my relationship with my emotions. Mm-hmm. How do I treat them? Do I disrespect myself and say, nope, can't feel that, not anymore. I take time and sometimes there's days where I just have to take a really nice walk away from everything and then return to it. And I find those days that you don't realize how much they help your business. You think, oh, I'm not working, therefore things aren't happening. And energy and action is all about, let's redefine action. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of that mindset of I have to be physically working all the time is a reaction from not feeling. Yeah. And you can make things happen and not always, and not burn yourself up and fraction your relationships while you're at it.
Yeah, I would love to share an example of how this has impacted myself. So with my previous pregnancy losses, I was just like, okay, I got to get back to go, right? Because I'm such a hardcore business lady and I got to have this identity for myself. And then it was like, wait a minute, you need to actually process these emotions and go through them and feel it and just be okay with it. And yeah, it sucked, obviously, but it's I was able to go into a meeting a couple of weeks ago with my friend Michaela, and she was like, Alaina, I never thought I would see you slow down and actually take care of yourself. And she's like, you're so much happier now. And I was like, yeah, because I've taken that time to dig into my mind and just go, okay, what genuinely makes me happy? What genuinely gives me energy and helps me revitalize myself? And literally so funny. My last podcast that I just recorded, it was the importance of rest and recovery. So, and it's talking about working on your business through taking that time to analyze it and taking that time to go through what's happening in your business versus okay, what do we need to do next to get to the next level, And I think that being able to slow down helps you speed up because you're able to go through and go, okay, what do I need to do to check the pulse of my business, right? Or going through and taking care of myself, going to yoga, doing meditation practice for myself, and, being able to take naps during the day right now, which Michaela was like, I never thought I'd see you do that, because I was just so intentional with building my business that I didn't care about anything else. Right. So now I'm able to build my business, but also build myself and build my relationships and see what is actually important. And it's helped me get to a point where I was like, man, I'm just not listening to my body. I'm not listening to my gut. I'm not listening to, what is truly making me happy. And literally, I went to an event. I talked about it on my last podcast, but I went to an event with Ben Spangle called Vibe Higher. And it was talking about what genuinely makes you happy and what recharges your energy. And I was like, family. And I'm like, I'm trying to build a family. And yet my family is 24-hour drive away. I'm like, so how am I really prioritizing my family? I'm like, how many summers have I spent with my niece and nephews? How many years left do I get with my mom? And I'm sitting here looking at it going, man, I really need to go home more, right? I really need to be in BC. And then this opportunity to buy this property came up and me and my husband were just like, yeah, let's do it. And so I moved back 3 months ago. Within 2 weeks, I got pregnant.
Wow.
And it's stuck. I'm 12 weeks now. And I'm just like, how the heck did I do that? But it's because I slowed down and I was able to take that time. I might get a little emotional, but I was taking that time for myself to listen to what truly drives me and truly recharges me and truly makes me happy. And then we found this incredible property and I was just like, wow, it's right beside the forest. I can go for nature walks. The other day, I ran into a bear and it was just sitting there eating an apple. And I was
Oh
like,
my
this is
gosh.
such a magical moment to just like
I don't know if that
experience.
would have been a magical moment for me. I think I would have been a terrifying moment, but I'm glad you saw it that way.
It was pretty funny though, because like my dog didn't even notice the bear or anything. And I'm just like, he's
Um,
literally right across the street from my house, right? And I'm just like, oh, there's some bear scat there. And my dog's just like looking at it. And I look up and the bear's like right in front of me. And I'm like, across the street now, right? But then it
okay.
just like watched me and it was eating its apple, just totally chill, you know? And I was like, what a
Yeah.
beautiful moment where I wasn't feeling nervous. I was just feeling like this is the place I'm meant to be, you know?
Mm,
And
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's just been so amazing to be
Well,
able to.
that's such a great example of trusting your gut and listening and hearing that inner voice that will come up and give you that guidance along the way, taking time to sometimes we do go to events like that and it helps us to process a little bit because we're hearing other people's stories, or when you listen to a podcast you hear someone's story and all of a sudden you feel your emotions starting to move, you're starting to connect to that person, you're starting to resonate with that person, and that resonance, that when you resonate you create like this frequency.
Yeah,
And that's so important. Everything is about connection, and it doesn't matter how many people you're connected to, but if you're not really connected, it really doesn't mean anything. It's not going to really serve you. People try to connect all the time. Oh, I got to talk to them or get to know them but if you're not really connected vibrationally, it's not going to do too much. I mean, you see that all the time. I've watched it in the author field. I've watched people, it's kind of an interesting world to be in. And I watched it before COVID and after COVID. And there's people that, pay to be on television, or they, people don't realize a lot of times if you see someone with their book on television, they've paid about $5,000 for that 3-minute spot. And my emotional detox has been a bestseller. It's been on the shelf of Barnes and Noble since 2018. That's very difficult to do. Anybody can put it online, but to be on a shelf space for that long, since 2018, it's unheard of. I have two books on the shelf at Barnes and Noble, physical, and every Barnes and Noble makes their own decision. But the point is that, and I no marketing.
yeah,
I mean, I barely any marketing. I mean, aside from a website and some social media, not putting money into things like people do. And I think with businesses, a lot of times it's like I've seen so many people and myself hire people, put money into things, and you're thinking, okay, this is going to be the thing, right? That brings me to that next place. And it's not the thing. Most often it's not. I maybe for some people, they have the means to do that. But for me, it's been through energy and action. I mean, it's really been through trusting, guiding, processing my emotions every single day. And with this book, it's all based on light. So a lot of ways that we change energy is by focusing on light. So just like when you say, I change my mindset, for me, I focus on bringing more light into the world, because we know when we focus on negativity or fear or anxiety, we're kind of focusing on heavy, dense, darker kind of feeling energies.
mm-hmm.
And it's like anything. And then all of a sudden you're like, you can hear your own thoughts coming out of your mouth, where you're a lot of self-doubt or a lot of insecurity or maybe your own self-chatter. And the moment you flip it and you focus on light. And so I teach people how to process their emotions by focusing on light. And not only do you process more easily, but now you lift your vibration up, and now your intuition becomes stronger, and you're able to follow and receive guidance. And it's always amazing to me how things happen. I'm like, I can't believe that just happened for me, and I did nothing. Like I just practice emotional processing all the time.
Yeah. Well, it was like the other day, I got a phone call when I was taking a nap. And I was like, okay, I'm going to honor my body and take a nap. It was like 4:00 in the afternoon. And one of my business partners called me and he's like, did you see what just happened? And I was like, no. One of his agents moved a bunch of money, and he's like, I just got promoted to senior broker. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And I made like $6,000 while I was sleeping. And I'm like, I love this business. And it was just so incredible to be like this. I just changed that person's life so that he could change someone else's life, so that he could change someone else's life while I'm sleeping, And I'm like, I was able to just like have that moment of like, oh, thank goodness, like just the listening to myself, listening to my body, listening to what I needed, was able to attract those kind of clients to myself, and it's just when you slow down and you process those emotions, you can really open yourself up. So like you were talking about that dense energy, that dense light, and a lot of people don't know why they feel so stuck. And it's because you're literally trying to like restart this chain of energy that's helping raise your vibration. And for me, it was doing yoga. And it pulled me out of this really dark, dark place that I was in mentally. And it helped me just find my own light and love. Right. And so my affirmation at the beginning of my yoga practice was, I'm a pillar of light and a pillar of love. And I was like, okay, if I can go into this with like, I don't care how I look. I don't care if I'm doing the poses wrong or I'm not as fast as the other people or whatever, because I was out of shape. It was like, it doesn't matter. What matters is how I'm feeling when I leave the mat, how I'm feeling when I'm able to go out into my business and out into my community and add value and bring people up and like give that light to other people. So I love that you're talking about that energy movement and how we have to get out of that feeling of the dense space of negativity and try and find ways that we can encourage ourselves to let our light shine through a little bit more.
Well, there's 13 different light sources that I talk about in the book, and each one has a different quality of vibration that you can call upon. There's light sources that purify your energy and cleanse your aura. There's light sources that help you manifest. There's light sources for inner strength. And so once you learn about them, then it's easy to connect with them in your meditation. I provide a practice for, again, the cleanse, the 7 steps. And then I pair the entire thing with the 13 spiritual laws of the universe. So the spiritual laws in energy and action teach us about energy and movement. And when we pay attention to them, they're not based on religion. They're really just based on spiritual truths that I believe they teach us about emotional processing. So a lot of us kind of focused on them for manifesting, and I'm all for that, but I actually think it's limiting. So like when you focus on the car or the house, and after exploring the laws, which are based on the Vedas, which is, yoga's 5,000-year practice, the Vedas and the Hindu texts these are all thousands and thousands of years old. And what I did is I dug in the archives of those and wrote about them in Energy and Action. I talked about those laws and how they help us process our emotions, because those laws don't say, okay, develop a vision board and put everything you want on there. They don't talk like that. The laws are about the universe. They're about oneness. They're about detachment, right? And also, it's not bad to want those things, but I say don't limit yourself. I think we can go beyond that. I think that's the easy stuff. The new car, the house, that's easy. The bigger stuff is creating sort of this unity and harmony and learning how to live with peace and to release, not live with worry or fear or scarcity. And what I use in emotional detoxing now, again, in the Energy and Action book, is the light sources. And it's so simple. But so many people have told me, oh my gosh, it's really been so helpful to have this as a guidance system.
I love that. Yeah. And those are the moments that you live for. It's like, okay, I'm going to put this information out there. All of the research, years and years and years of research that I've done and people that I've studied and the books that I've studied and stuff. And you're putting it out there for people so that they can thrive as well. And that's incredible, right? Like that's such a gift to the world to help them process that, especially in times like today when people are struggling exponentially with like, oh my goodness, depression, anxiety, and just how they're processing that isn't the greatest. Essentially, I see a lot of people who don't have clarity of vision. They don't have a path for their life that they want. And that, of course, creates anxiety because you're like, what's next? What's coming? Right. And you're in that constant state of fight or flight. Right. And I just want people to have some outlets that they can go to, or like some maybe simple practices that they could do to help them escape that feeling when they're in it. So for myself, it would be like when I'm sitting there doubting if this pregnancy is going to stick, for instance, I just go, all is well, and I give myself that, okay, I can do this, that belief in myself. And it's trying to pull myself out of that negative place so that I don't attract negativity. Right. But I know that there's, even in business, if I'm sitting there going, oh man, it's been a rough month, or, oh man, this is, when I'm in that place of doubt or fear, I'm not going to attract what I'm looking for, versus if I can just like take a few minutes and do either a meditation, which I noticed was on your website, and I love that you're giving away free meditations, but like little things like that, where you can just take 5 minutes or take 10 minutes and go for a walk, or like do some sort of practice for yourself that can help you snap out of that place. Maybe you could offer some advice to people that are in those acute moments that they can kind of energy up.
I mean, there's so much to unpack here. I think, I don't know if you have something in particular, what example of what you hear most in terms of what people are worried about, and I can use that.
Well, for myself, it's finances, right? So there's because I'm in the financial industry. So I have a lot of people who are like, there's no way I'm going to be able to retire. And I'm like, well, you still got 30 years to plan for it. Better to save something than nothing, right?
Yeah. So there's going to be unprocessed emotions within there that you're going to want to allow yourself to explore. And in the system that I've created, it starts with the C, where you just get settled in your body. There's lots of different ways that you can do that. You want to connect to your body. It can be simple as breathing, taking a nice inhale, holding the breath a few counts, releasing. It could be a neck stretch. You mentioned yoga. Stretching is a great way to sort of, whenever you go to your body, you're basically bringing yourself to the here and now. And when you bring yourself to the here and now, you're basically saying to your body that it's safe. And your body can't process emotions if it doesn't feel safe. So that's why the C in the cleanse, which is in the last 4 books I've written, the cleanse system, is about clearing reactivity. And then the next step is the L, which is look inward. And in that step, we're identifying the emotions. So if you're worried about your future, financial, the security of your future, and you want to start to dive into what's underneath there. So what I find is a lot of people are having reactions, that those aren't really emotions. So emotions, generally, the way that they're designed is when you're truly processing your emotions, you're going to feel better. You're going to feel lighter, calmer, more secure and balanced. So if you're not feeling that way, it's because you're reacting. And when you react, what it is you withhold feeling. So you want to acknowledge your emotions without getting into the story. So when I think about the future, it makes me feel, or I think about, just the future. I think that in itself is a great place to start. Mm-hmm. And then learning to really breathe into that. Really, when I think about the future, I look at my bank account or whatever it is, it makes me feel. And then you breathe. You got to move that energy. And then you move into the next step of the cleanse, which is the E. And the E is all about ways. I give many tools for increasing vibration there. So a lot of them are very ancient. And then you move into the A. So now we're in activate. And activate is about really tuning into your subconscious. This is where we tune into visualization, because a lot of these things are coming up from the subconscious, not to get you down, but to let you know that there's some things that you've buried and put away, and that you want to start, because so emotions don't just go away without feeling them. You will revisit them, fear, insecurity, in different ways. So the A is, now that you have enough energy from the E, step E gives you the energy, and there's lots of tools for that. Now, A, you're able to visualize more. You're able to imagine. And if you can't visualize, maybe you feel it, maybe you sense it, maybe everybody's different there. And then the N is nourish, and that's where you want to learn to be. That's your pause. That's your learning how to absorb energy, take it in. Mm-hmm. So it's beyond rest. Rest is like kind of recharge, but when you absorb energy, it's hard to explain. It's truly a practice. It's kind of like digesting food. You just know, right? And you've got to learn to really, and what happens there in the end with practice is you learn how to hold energy. Because a lot of people, what they do is they go to a yoga class or something. And I've been teaching yoga for over 25 years. Is they feel better, but then they go and they look at their phone, and now they're back. They kind of go back to the same energy. They vibrate the same way when they do that. So you got to learn how to hold it, and you'll know you're holding energy because you actually don't want to look at your phone. You don't care to look at your phone, right? You become less interested in those things because your energy is high. So N does that. S is surrender. There is an aspect of surrender here with emotional processing. And then E is ease. And that is the embodiment. That's the I am. You said I am light, right? That's ease, right? So that's called integration. So all 7 steps take about 10 minutes a day. And the more you do it, it's like riding a bike. We know we can't just do these things when we're stressed. We can't just do them because our tank is empty. Yeah. It's not about filling up anymore. It's about a daily practice, ritual. It's sacred. All these ancient tools were based on sacred space. They were held. They weren't blasted all over there was integrity around this. And you see this when the spiritual laws were written, they had a lot of ethics around them. They hold a lot of integrity. They were, a lot of these things were passed on and kept sacred between families because they're so powerful. And so also just knowing when you use a tool, a spiritual tool or kind of a mindful tool, remembering where it came from and remembering it's not a quick fix. I think as long as you stay out of that mentality that I got to fix myself or make this better, or it's not like taking a pill. This is a commitment. It's a choice. Yeah. It's a lifestyle, right?
Oh, big time. That is such a good way to put it too. Like it's every minute of every day, you have to decide that you're intentionally going to be happy, right? And do you have to be happy every moment? No, you're not going to be. Because if you don't know what sadness is, you don't know what happiness is. Mm-hmm. Right? Like there's the yin and the yang, right? It's finding those moments of, okay, this is how I want to feel. This is what I'm aiming for, right? That energy is moving through me and I can feel it because I feel good. Right? I feel great. I feel like I can give back to people. I feel like I can go out and conquer the world, versus you look at your phone and it's one of your clients sending you a frustrating message and you're like, oh, here we go again. Right. And then it's just dragging you right back down, versus like you said, you don't want to go look at that phone. Right. And
you can put boundaries in. I mean, you're going to have to put some times that you don't have the phone handy, or you're not, or a lot of people do it as a way to pass the time. Oh, I'm at a doctor's office. Okay, I'll look at my phone. Oh, I'm at the airport. Okay, I'll look at my phone. Oh, I'm waiting for my kid to get out of their class. I'll look at my phone. And those are such moments where once you hold that energy, you're going to less and less, unless you're, sometimes maybe it's an educational, like listening podcasts or something, but you have to watch it, the social media and the phone, because they really zap your energy. You'll notice how you feel when you get up. Do you feel better? Do you have more energy? Do you feel good about yourself? If the answer is no, if it makes you feel more pressure, or if it makes you feel less than, you've got to watch it, because again, that whole negative energy thing, it's like drooping you. So have boundaries. It's very, very important. And not compare yourself to other business owners and how they're doing things, because honestly, you don't really know.
Oh, big time.
In this business, you've been in business a long time. And one thing I've learned, it's called smoke and mirrors. Don't believe what you see. And people they fool you. They look like they're, it's been amazing to me. And I'm glad, I've been able to be around long enough to witness it. And the more I see it, the more I'm like, okay, I get it now. So you're better off putting your time and attention into, okay, I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to let my body know it's safe. Again, that cleanse. I'm going to acknowledge my emotions, just how I feel in this moment, being in this moment, or, waiting here for my child makes me feel. There's always a feeling, right, that we could easily skimp over. Does it make me, does it make me feel frustrated? Does it make, whatever it is. And then you're learning to breathe, and then you're adding vibration in with that emit. A lot of times it's a mantra, and then and then you're sort of in energy and action. The activate is all about the light source. So you'll see, I've written 52 of them in that book. They're all written out, so people don't have to figure this stuff out themselves. Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm like, I can't wait to read your book.
Yeah, you're going to love it. I can tell you're definitely resonating.
I've already taken the notes of like, okay, yeah, I like that concept, the reaction versus your emotions,
Yeah, most of the time
people,
reaction. Yeah.
I think a lot of people just like don't take the time to analyze their emotions or like how they're feeling. And it's like living on autopilot. And I was doing that for a long, long time. And then I realized that I was more miserable than I had ever been in my whole life. And I was like, what's happening here? And then I was like, I need a change. I needed a change.
Well, it'll bite you. It's like being in denial. It's a denial mechanism. I know, because I was there, and you can live in denial that way. If you're not feeling, there's some element of denial. And it's nothing to be afraid of. It's nothing to be ashamed of. But you can fool yourself. Because everything can look great on the outside. House can be good. You look good. Everything looks perfect, right? But if you're not feeling, it's probably not okay, right? There's probably some areas that could use a little. I'm telling you, this has changed my whole life. My kids are doing better. I'm doing better. My marriage is better. Everything. Because they were off too. And I had no idea how much of it was, it's like that internal part was not okay. They had everything. They have food, right? They go to schools. They have 2 parents that do everything, there for them. And it wasn't until I started to really process my emotions. Really, I think for women, we really set the tone.
Yeah.
We really do. And it changed everything. And I wish I knew this a long time ago. And some of what it changed is I saw my children, they got better, things got easier for them. You don't realize how much the way we are affects other people.
Mm-hmm. I think that really plugged in for me when I got a dog. And it was like, oh, if I'm like yelling at her, I'm being aggressive, that she's just like not listening and she's just doing her own thing. And I'm like, but then when I was like, okay, I'm going to calm down. I'm going to talk to her nicely. I'm going to, like be a little bit more gentle with her. Then she was like, okay, yeah, let's do that. Right. Like, I want you to come this way on the walk. But instead of just like pulling her, it was like, come here. And then she would listen. And I'm like, man, what a reflection on my own energy that I had never seen before, right?
Yeah.
Versus when I'm just like in an emotional state or in a reactive state, then I'm like, oh, I need to, check myself and take a inventory of how I'm feeling and work through these emotions so that I don't continue to portray that energy onto other people, because it's so important that we pay attention to our own energy as well. And like you said, recharging your own energy, because when you're not feeling your best, you really can't be your best for other people, and it does impact the people around you. So that's so powerful. And I really appreciate you digging into that concept with us. I know a ton of people are going to get a ton of value out of that. So when we are closing up, unfortunately, we are running out of time here. So I just want to give you the floor, and just, if there's anything else that you want to share with people, or any advice or success tips that you want people to take away from this podcast, I want you to have the time to do that.
Oh, I appreciate that. I think after writing 4 books, the last 4 books have been on emotional processing. I do have a certification program if anyone's interested. And that is certifying other people in how to use my method.
Cool.
And it's been very helpful to me. I've been a coach for well over a decade. I've been in the field of mental health for 25 years. I went to school for it, worked in it. I've never, ever had a problem having clients, ever. And I know people that they make courses on that, how to get clients, never had a problem.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of my system. I think people so if anyone, and you don't have to be a coach, you can be someone like yourself in the financial industry, and you take this method and you learn how to process your own emotions, and you learn how to help others, it will spill over.
Yeah.
And then, it can help you. And I always say to my kids, that's how you're going to stand out in the world. It's not going to be the degrees. It's going to be to be able to be emotionally balanced and resilient and present and centered and calm. Right. And that's how you're going to stand out. So I'm just hoping to help other people be successful in their businesses if they're interested in adding a tool to their toolbox.
I love that. Yeah, it's not how. So I was told people will not necessarily remember what you say to them, but they'll remember how they feel when they left your presence.
That's right.
So if you can leave them better than you found them, you're doing good things for the world, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I love that. All right. So thank you again for being on today. I'd like people to get more access to you. So where can people buy your books other than Barnes & Noble? We know that. So maybe you can share your social media as well.
Sure. So I'm at sheriannaboyle.com, and the books you can buy anywhere, anywhere. I've got parenting books. I've got the book, The Emotional Detox. I've got The Energy in Action, which is on manifesting. And then I do privates there. Everything's under sheriannaboyle.com, pretty much one stop. And social media is there, but Instagram is Sherianna.Boyle. Facebook is author Sherianna Boyle. So it's pretty easy to find me. Just my name.
Perfect. Amazing. Well, thank you again for being on today. I have loved learning from you, and I'm so excited to get your book. And I know that a lot of people are going to get a ton of value out of today's episode. So guys, if you do, make sure you share it with a friend. This is a holistically grown podcast, and it doesn't grow unless you help it. So let's make sure to share the content and get the word out about raising your vibration and getting to be in a better position with yourself mentally, physically, emotionally. I think it is going to help people change the way that they look at their lives. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And until next time, that's Pursuit of Relentless signing out.